Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. We've got some great content here from Pharmacy Technology and Management Review. Really interesting stuff. There's definitely some good news and some bad news for independent pharmacies out there. So let's jump right in. The first article we're going to look at is Pharmacy Services Continue in Turbulent Times by Marcia K. Melinek.
Okay.
And this is focusing on the recently released NCPA Digest.
Right.
And wow, some of these numbers are pretty startling. Like right out the gate, independent pharmacies are closing at a rate of more than one per day.
Yeah, it's a tough environment out there. It's not just about competition. A lot of it has to do with this really broken reimbursement system.
Yeah.
Especially when you look at these losses tied to GLP-1 agonists and the decline in those COVID-related services that were really helping to keep some of these places afloat.
Yeah, the GLP-1 craze, huge demand, but the reimbursement rates just haven't kept up.
Nope, not at all.
So that's definitely a big hit. But you know what? Despite all that, independent pharmacies still hold a pretty strong 35% of the U.S. pharmacy market.
They are hanging in there.
And get this, the average annual sales per pharmacy actually went up last year by almost 14%.
Really?
Almost $5 million. But.
Oh, there's a but.
There's always a but. Gross profit fell to its lowest point in a decade.
Oof.
19.7%.
So what's going on there?
Well, they point to a few things. Those low third-party reimbursements are definitely a big one.
Yeah.
You know, especially for those GLP-1s.
Right.
And then you've got inflation. Wages are going up. Overhead is going up. And you can't forget about the staffing shortage. 67% of NCPA members reported having trouble filling positions, which means that wages are going up even more. And that all contributes to a 9% rise in prescription dispensing costs.
It's a domino effect.
It's a little bleak financially. But what I find really interesting is that despite all of this, independent pharmacies are expanding their services.
That's great to hear. What are they doing?
All kinds of things. Wound care, medication therapy management. They're selling compression socks. They're doing compounding.
That's what makes them so important to the communities. They're not just filling prescriptions. They're providing all these vital healthcare services.
For sure. And one thing that really jumped out at me there was this huge jump in pharmacies offering smoking cessation aids.
That's fantastic.
But on the other hand, there has been a decline in compounding. Probably has to do with those recent USP revisions. Immunizations and wellness services are still going strong, though.
Good.
Flu shots, blood pressure monitoring. I mean, you name it, they're doing it.
It's pretty amazing how they're managing to expand their services despite all those financial pressures.
I know, right?
I think technology has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, the article mentions how they're adopting all kinds of new tools. Telehealth video conferencing is actually down, though.
Oh, really? I wonder why.
Probably because COVID concerns have eased up. People are more comfortable going in person now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, and speaking of networks, the article also touches on NCPA still fighting the good fight, advocating for PBM reform. You've got the Finish the Fight campaign and the 10 to Win campaign.
Yeah, that's important work.
Absolutely. Okay, so that was a lot on the state of independent pharmacies, but now let's shift gears and talk about something that I think is going to be huge for the industry, AI. And specifically AI scribes. Yeah, have you heard of these?
I've heard the term, but I'm not really sure what it is.
So the next article we're going to look at is Potential Benefits and Challenges of AI Scribes by Brent Fox. And this article really digs into this whole idea and whether it could be a solution to a problem I know every pharmacy owner and decision maker out there is familiar with: documentation.
Oh, tell me about it. It's a nightmare.
Right. And it's only getting worse.
Definitely.
In fact, the article says that physicians spend almost 2 hours every day on documentation outside of patient visits.
Wow, that's crazy.
I know. It's time that could be spent with patients. The pharmacists are feeling that pain too. As they take on more clinical services, the documentation burden just keeps growing. And that's where AI scribes come in.
Okay, so how do they work?
So basically, these tools can record patient conversations on secure smartphones.
Wait, they record the conversations?
They record the conversation, and then they use natural language processing to generate notes for the patient's record. Could this be useful in a pharmacy setting? The article lays out some pretty compelling potential benefits.
Like what?
Well, first of all, enhanced efficiency.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. If you're not bogged down with note-taking, you can spend more time with the patient.
Right. And the patient gets your full attention, which is always a good thing.
Definitely.
Then there's the improved accuracy. AI is really good at processing large amounts of data with precision, so you're less likely to make errors compared to manual documentation.
That's a big plus.
And not only are the notes more accurate, they're also more complete because the AI scribe is capturing the whole conversation.
Oh, I see. It's not just what the pharmacist remembers later.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have a more detailed record of what was discussed.
Yep, which is super important for medication management.
For sure. You need that full picture.
And then there's consistency. As we move towards more integrated healthcare systems, having AI-powered summaries that follow a standardized format is going to be huge.
Yeah, that makes sense. Make sure everyone's on the same page.
Right. It streamlines communication, reduces the risk of errors, all good things.
So basically, AI scribes can free up time, improve accuracy, and ensure consistency.
Pretty much. But, there's some challenges too.
Oh, I bet. What are some of the concerns?
Well, privacy and security are obviously top of mind.
Yeah.
We are talking about sensitive patient information here. And then there's the question of accuracy and reliability. AI's come a long way, but it's still developing technology.
Well,
and the article points out that these systems can sometimes generate false information. They call it hallucination. It means you can't just blindly trust the AI. You still need that human oversight.
So pharmacists would still have to review the notes and make sure they're accurate.
Exactly. It's a tool to enhance their work, not replace their judgment.
Right.
And then you have the practical challenge of integrating these systems with existing pharmacy management systems. There's going to have to be some serious collaboration between vendors to make sure everything works together smoothly.
Hopefully they're up to the task. Yeah.
And then there's the human factor. Pharmacists and staff are going to need training to use these tools effectively.
Of course. There's going to be a learning curve.
Definitely. But the article makes a really good point. They say AI scribes hold incredible potential to transform pharmacy practice. But it's not a plug-and-play solution. There are definitely challenges that need to be carefully considered.
Right.
Okay, so now for our final article today. CMS's proposed $2 drug list model, another hit to pharmacies, by Danielle Wu and Ann Johnson. This one's all about the push to lower prescription drug costs.
Okay.
Specifically through a proposed Medicare program called the $2 drug list model.
So what's that all about?
Basically, they want to offer a standardized list of generic drugs for common conditions.
Like what?
Things like high cholesterol, hypertension,
Okay.
at a fixed copay of $2 per month.
$2 a month. That sounds pretty good.
Right. And the article says this could benefit a lot of people. They estimate that 80% of Medicare Part D beneficiaries could have filled prescriptions that would have qualified for this list.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
I know, right? But it's important to note that this program would be voluntary for Part D plan sponsors.
Okay, so it's not a done deal.
Not yet. And it wouldn't launch until January 2027 at the earliest. CMS has already come up with a sample drug list.
Oh, really?
Yeah, over 100 drugs across 15 different clinical categories.
Okay, so they're serious about this.
Yeah, it seems like it. But here's the thing.
What's that?
It's not clear how this is going to impact pharmacies.
Oh, I see. It sounds good for patients, but what about the people dispensing the drugs?
Exactly. And the article cites a review from JAMA Internal Medicine suggesting this program might not actually significantly reduce out-of-pocket expenses for most beneficiaries. But CMS argues that this program would increase access to $2 copays across different plans, because their data shows that a lot of beneficiaries are currently paying more than $2 for these commonly filled generics. But here's the real kicker. Pharmacies already operate with such thin margins on generic prescriptions.
Right.
So they're worried that this program could really squeeze their profits even further.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like they're getting hit from all sides.
I know, right? And the article even says that while pharmacies are unlikely to leave a Part D plan's network just because of this program, it could definitely add to the financial pressure they're already facing.
Right. It's one more thing on top of everything else.
Exactly. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
For sure. And the article encourages pharmacy owners and decision makers to make their voices heard. They're asking people to provide feedback to CMS because this is a big deal. And it could have a huge impact on independent pharmacies down the line. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground in our deep dive. We've looked at the financial challenges facing independent pharmacies, the exciting potential of AI scribes, and the uncertainty surrounding the $2 drug list model.
Yeah, a lot to think about.
I know, right? We've just scratched the surface here. If you want to learn more about all these topics, we encourage you to go to PTMReview.com and check out all those great resources they have available.
Yep, tons of great articles, podcasts, webinars, all kinds of stuff.
So keep learning, keep growing, and keep taking care of those patients. Thanks again for joining us for this deep dive.